What is going on there, everyone? All right. Well, this is a crazy situation Iran's got themselves into. What started off as them retaliating for the attack on Soleimani has become an international incident because they shot down a passenger plane, probably, most likely, 98% on accident. But this all could have been avoided with steps taken by a whole bunch of different people that made sense. But we'll get into that in a moment. But let's see what Iran's saying now, because there have been reports and images and videos of bulldozers at a plane crash site. Now, that's not something you normally see anywhere. That's not how you preserve evidence, and that's the key. We know they're not trying to preserve evidence, or, you know, come on. Come on. That's all I really gotta say. This is mind-blowing that the Iranian officials think the rest of the world is this stupid. It just kind of shows their intelligence. But let's get into the story. Iran ambassador rejects absurd claim bulldozers are clearing Ukraine jet crash site. And this is from Sky News Australia. Whoa. Now, I am gonna butcher this guy's name. Hamid Bayadinjad? I don't know. I'm just going to call him Hamid. My apologies. Any Middle Easterns watching, I just can't pronounce names of anybody for that matter. Says Iran is confident from our side that there has been no missile launched in that area at that time. Okay. It's kind of weird that there's, some video evidence that possibly shows the plane getting hit by missiles, but, that's absurd to think that. Let's get in. Iran did not shoot down a Ukrainian passenger plane that crashed near Tehran, the country's ambassador to the UK told Sky News. Hamid, also questioned the validity of the footage appearing to show a missile hitting the Boeing jet. Asked about the video of bulldozers said to show the crash site being cleared, obtained by U.S. TV, he says such claims were absolutely absurd. He said plane accidents are very technical issues. In most cases. But when they're flying in an active war zone, no, it's not that technical. I cannot judge, you cannot judge, reporters on the ground cannot judge. Nobody can judge. A foreign minister or a prime minister cannot judge on the issue. Well, you know what's funny? The people that can judge, like the, what is it, NTSB or something like that? Yeah, they can judge. And you're refusing to let them in. You're refusing to let anybody in. And now you got bulldozers on the site, and you've had people scouring the site, making sure there are no, evidence of the missiles that hit the plane, and all that. Yeah, we can judge. The rest of the world can judge. Not only can we judge that this plane was 99.999% taken down by surface-to-air missiles, we can judge that you're not being honest at all. We can also judge that, yeah. Officials in the U.S., U.K., Canada, Australia have said a missile strike is the most likely explanation for Wednesday's disaster, which killed 196 people. Ugh. And that it may have been unintentional. I do believe it was unintentional, but I also do believe 100%, I personally believe 100%, that this was a surface-to-air missile. But that guy, the ambassador for Iran, said Iran was confident from our side that there has been no missile launched in that area at the time. I don't believe you. I don't think anybody believes you. But okay, let's move over here to the Business Insider. And, because they got photos. Iran is using bulldozers at the Ukraine plane crash site, which would make it impossible to prove what happened. Of course! That's exactly why they're doing this. Like I said, you don't see bulldozers at a crash site whenever any normal country is doing an investigation. And I say normal because Iran's not normal. They're not normal. Anybody who says they are normal, move there. And then call me up about a month later and say how normal it is over there. Iran has used bulldozers to move around pieces of debris from the crashed Ukrainian passenger jet, possibly destroying evidence that could help prove what happened to the doomed flight. Images and reports from the crash site just outside of Iran's capital, Tehran, show at least one bulldozer working in the debris at the site, where the Boeing 737-800 crashed Wednesday morning, killing all 176 people on board. And I'm going to say it, leftist, if you're watching, cover your ears. Thoughts and prayers go to the families of these people, for real. Like, seriously. When I say that, I actually do pray for things. Every night I have a giant list of things that I pray for. And I don't care what anyone else says about it. I just don't care. If you're not a religious person, kudos. That's cool. I don't care. But leave me be. The crash site is at the center of a tense geopolitical struggle over exactly what brought down the jet, which was operated by Ukrainian International Airlines. Iran has said that the plane crashed because of unspecified technical issue on board. Yeah, the Iranian officials are trying to paint just an absurd picture. They seem to forget, because I understand that a lot of the places in the Middle East are really behind Western nations when it comes to everything. I get that. But they seem to forget that these planes are tracked very, very stringently, especially over land. You know, once you get over the ocean, it gets a little mucky. But over land, planes are tracked. And the Iranians were saying the plane was in the air, it was going to make a turn to come back to the airport because it was having some type of technical issue, and then it fell. Well, that's not what the telemetry data shows. It shows the plane going in a straight line, something happens, and the plane crashes. Do they not know that this technology exists and that people outside of their country can follow this in real time? I think they're ignorant to some of the technological marvels of the outside world. But that wouldn't surprise me either. Physical evidence from the crash site could prove more information about what happened, but the usefulness of the evidence could be compromised if it's disturbed. Yeah, but so much for that. I mean, come on, the first pictures they were showing were of big pieces of the fuselage with a bunch of holes in it. Bunch of, a little bit smaller than a fist-size hole. If you know anything about how a SAM works, a surface-to-air missile, it doesn't actually go and penetrate the hull of the aircraft, the fuselage. It doesn't penetrate. It gets right up on it and explodes right beside it, pretty much. Kind of like flak from back in the day. It's kind of like flak, just in a missile form. And yeah, so what we saw with the fuselage pictures with a bunch of holes in it is completely accurate to if it was hit by a surface-to-air missile. Which, this plane went down, I think it was roughly 6 miles outside of Tehran's international airport, which has about 6 SAMs operating there. Now, SAMs have 2 different modes of working. It's either manual or automatic. Now, manual, a person has to fire the missile. They have to see the object in the radar, and then they will fire the missile manually. But if it was set on automatic, which most likely it was because they were worried about when they were launching those ballistic missiles, they were worried about a U.S. retaliation, air assault or something. Yeah, so they probably had these set on automatic, and that plane just happened to get kind of caught up in the crossfire. And the reason why earlier I said this could be blamed kind of on multitudes of nations is because, for one thing, Iraq, the Iraqi government, and the Iranian government should be, they're clearly at fault. They were launching ballistic missiles at night without closing airspace? Don't you think that would be one of the first things you should do is, Say, hey, we're closing the airspace above our country because we have a military action happening. And Iraq should have done it too. Say, hey, we're closing the airspace around our country because Iran's launching missiles in the airspace. That could have solved this whole problem before it ever started. But no. And I have to throw some fault at the Ukraine here too. How are you going to let one of your planes fly through an area where just moments before they were launching missiles? Come on. It's like there's a whole bunch of things came together to make this tragedy. And it's mind-blowing that they didn't go through these simple steps. These very simple steps. You don't fly a passenger plane in an active fighting zone. Come on. I don't know. It's stupid all the way around. 176 people lost their lives that shouldn't have lost their lives. And I will say, people, when you're boarding a plane and you're in an area where there's active conflict going on, do your research. A lot of lives could have been saved if these people would have just said, you know what, it's probably not a good idea to be flying over this area right now. Maybe I'll wait and, take the next flight out or something like that. It just could have been avoided. But, yeah, the whole thing is really, when it comes to the geopolitical state of this, it's actually kind of a good thing that this happened. Now, hear me out. I don't think I should have to go through and say, about the people that lost their lives. We all understand that was horrible, horrific tragedy. But this took every bit of leverage Iran had away. They were getting away, they were talking big, they were acting big, and then they just caused an international incident that didn't even involve the U.S. at all. Thank God we didn't have none of our citizens or anything on that plane. So really, when it comes to the U.S., we can put our hands up and walk away with this situation, which we should do. We should not get involved with this situation. I understand if we send people from Boeing or something to investigate because it was their plane. They built the plane, so there's, in general, there's supposed to be some of the people investigating when the plane goes down. But Iran's not letting that happen. But this is a good thing because now Iran, where they were just focused on America and being mad at us all the time, well, now the whole international community is looking at them like, hey, what did you just do, bruh? Come on. You took down a passenger plane with nothing but civilians on it. Oopsie. That's a big problem, But, like I said, this is kind of in a bigger picture, this is kind of a good thing because now the whole international community is staring at Iran like, hey, we kind of want to kick the crap out of you right now. We're not gonna, but we want to. Iran's on notice right now. I mean, you got to think, 60-something Canadians were on board. You had people from Germany on board. You had people from the Ukraine on board. And I do believe there were Iranians on board. So really, a big mistake. But this big mistake may calm down all the other simmering tensions. Iran may have no choice but to stop being an aggressor right now. Because you rubbed a lot of people wrong with this one. And why won't they just admit it that it happened? I mean, come on. You got all these people that are professionals. You got pilots, this, that, and the other. People that work on airline crashes. Stating just from the images that this was not an engine problem. And this plane, they said, Iran keeps saying one of the engines was caught fire and malfunction. That particular plane is designed to be able to fly on just one engine. So you can't say that, an engine went out. That wouldn't have caused the plane to fall out the sky. See, this is the thing when you don't use logic properly, which Iran is not, because the logical conclusion is, yes, this plane was shot down by a surface-to-air missile. But like I think I lost my train of thought earlier. But yeah, I was saying earlier that this happened 6 miles from the airport in Tehran. Iran has 6 surface-to-air missiles that were set up around that airport that night, and they were active. 6 miles. A SAM works. They have an effective range of 2 to 15 miles and 36,000 feet. And we're also getting reports that it wasn't just one missile. It was a possibility that there was 2 missiles that hit this plane. The thing is we know it was shot down. The evidence, the pictures, everything shows that it was shot down. The fact that Iran is trying to clear the area and clean it up, which you're not supposed to touch the area unless or until officials, like official people. I don't know what to tell you. Iran's going to keep on saying they had nothing to do with it. The whole world seems to come to the conclusion that they're lying. We're not going to get to the bottom of this, and nothing's going to happen. But I do believe that, Canada and all these other people that are involved because their citizens were on this plane should throw some heavy sanctions towards Iran, because this was unacceptable no matter how you look at it. It was unacceptable. And it's just a horrific accident. And they should just come out and admit, yes, it was an accident. It was an accident. We apologize greatly for the loss of lives of civilians. But, just own up. Man up, Iran. Man up. You make a mistake, man up. But I digress. I'd love to hear your comments on this. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you all on the flip side.